definitely not impossible. So if you...
Yami's sobbing over here.
Well, this is amazing. I don't want to wait until tomorrow to give you the good news. So
Thank you.
when you do it, for the time being, at least you can start to shop around for houses, and ideally that payment.
So I feel like the answer is yes, but you're gonna email everything that you just listed, right? All the numbers, because I was not really listening. I just was I blacked out when you said.
I have approval.
That's okay. I totally understand. Trust me, there's just a huge amount of joy and adrenaline pumping through my body. So I can't even imagine how you guys are feeling right now.
Oh, man. Well, we are ecstatic, to say the least.
Oh, good. Well, it's such a blessing to be able to make this phone call. And
Awesome.
Great. Now,
So does that mean we can go look at houses now?
yes, I'm going to send you a letter, and that letter is your pre-qualification letter, and that's your golden ticket to start shopping around. And, you do have room on your debt to income to go up a little bit in price point, but I obviously, like I said, want to make sure that you're comfortable with that.
thank you, Allison. Thank you. I have chills.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. Thank you for your patience and just trust through this. I know it's a lot to put in the hands of somebody else, so I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you. Thank you for all of your help. Yes.
Okay.
It's happening.
Thank you, Jesus.
It's happening.
Let's go
find the house.
I never thought I'd be making this video.
But we're making it.
Get over here.
I never thought we'd be making this video, and I'm so excited.
I am so
to actually
excited.
be making it for you guys.
Okay, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is a little bit of a different video. Honestly, I wasn't expecting on making one, but I figured we have to because the next videos that are coming are gonna be really exciting because we finally got pre-approved for a house! Congratulations, Coco.
It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming.
For what feels like a long time, in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure other people have been going through it longer, but for us, it just seems like one thing after another. Bleeker's walking through this side of the table. But it's just been a journey, and we kind of want to bring you into the journey, even more so than what we have brought you in, but give you the behind the scenes of what we've gone through. So maybe if we can help somebody else avoid this,
That's
so
right.
be it. So
that's right. So
with that being
I
said,
know that we kind of talked about the house hunting experience and the whole approval process here and there, in several videos, but like he said, we wanted to kind of share everything that happened to us so that hopefully this helps one of you. Now, we were debating if we want to write an outline for this video or kind of just have it flow. We thought we were just gonna have it flow, whatever we want to talk about. But then also, if you have any questions about any of this, or if you have any more questions that we didn't even touch on that you think we have the answers to,
or if you have insight to anything else you think we should know,
leave them down below. And if we get enough questions, we can do a round 2 of this video or a part 2 of this video and answer all your questions. But with that said, let's rewind to I think a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
We moved to Houston.
Started thinking about.
We moved to Houston 2018. In February 2018, and I don't even know why we started thinking of renting. I think our lease was up here, and we are just running out of room with Lavavi, with the dogs. Kona doesn't have a yard to play with, and it's just getting a little bit claustrophobic. And so we reached out to a friend of his that he worked with when he was doing real estate photography, and we were looking at homes to rent. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to rent. We were still okay with renting.
Because we were there's no way we can buy it right now. We haven't whatever.
Right. And then one fine day, our friend was like, have you ever considered buying a house? And I was like, LOL, I can't buy a house right now. There's no way.
Because you put it on this pedestal. It's it's this huge thing. And granted, it's the biggest purchase you'll probably ever make.
Yeah.
But you put it out there, it's no, it's not, no way.
Yeah. And then he kind of educated us a tiny bit about what you could be spending for in a rental. You could be paying your mortgage and you actually own it. It's an investment, yada, yada, yada.
And myths needing 20% down. Newsflash, you don't need 20% down. We'll get into it a little bit more, but we're pre-approved for 3.5% down.
Yeah. And so I mean, honestly, I can just say that was the beginning of the end for us.
So he planted that little seed. in our heads, and we were like, okay, well, that's definitely a possibility. Let's look into it. And so that started this whole journey of looking for houses, going through this whole process. And I think a lot of this video comes down to educating somebody who might be watching that is self-employed and trying to get approved for any loan. In our instance, it's a home loan because it's not like having a salary job and W-2 job where it might be a little bit easier. Self-employment and having your own business is a whole nother ballgame, which we're going to explain.
Yeah, so I think the very first time he was like, try to get pre-approved, see what happens. And at that point, Taz you were under salary, W-2, what were you?
At that point, I was doing the real estate photo, so I was W-2. I was salaried. So throughout this video, we're going to talk either W-2, which is like a salaried, very stable position, versus a 1099 or contracted position that's more of like you have to pay your own taxes after the fact, or another company pays you and then you're not an actual employee of that company, or self-employed.
For instance, that would be a sponsored athlete. That would be if you're an influencer and you're doing brand deals with companies, typically.
If you're a freelancer,
if you're a freelancer, it's all 1099 and you have to pay taxes at the end of the year. Where do we begin? We tried to get pre-approved. At that point, Taz's credit.
First time. This was
the very first time.
Let's just put a year and a half ago.
Yeah, Taz's credit was no bueno.
It was not in a good spot. After we moved here, I missed a few payments on some things, and so my credit took a hit.
And the student loans and all that good stuff. So I think that we were thinking about going together on a loan, but we were like, oh, I can do this. I can carry the weight of us both on my back. And my mom was actually gonna co-sign because my mom's credit is chef's kiss. So what ended up happening was we got denied because the debt to income ratio was just not enough. We got a lot of different information about getting pre-approved, and they're like, oh, if your mom has great credit, she can have her name on their lease. It won't affect the debt to income ratio, which in fact it did affect it. So I could not have my mom on the lease because although she has great credit, she does have another mortgage under her name, and it just didn't make sense for the loan company to give us a loan.
She already has this loan.
Yeah.
Their current house. It's a risk, and you got to think of it from the lender's perspective. It's a risk for them to give her money for another separate loan for our house and risk not being able to pay that back because technically she doesn't make enough to support both.
Right. So then,
it's all a numbers game for the lenders, and that's what you have to keep in mind.
Yeah. So then we decided to try again with both of us. Is what happened. Then we got denied. And, I just kept hearing of so many people getting approved with not so great income, not so great credit. And I was like, well, if they can do it, we can do it surely. And it just never happened for us. And we were very frustrated. And it sucked because we had to re-up our lease here and it was just more expensive. And we just felt like we were throwing money away when we could have been putting it towards a house or an investment property, whatever the case is. So then I think that was the case, or that was when we kind of accepted the fact that we had to work on his credit, and then I had to work on my debt to income ratio. So then that's what we did. We set out a long time. Taz worked on his credit. I paid off a ton of debt, almost like $10,000, $12,000.
Unsecured debt, which is a lot of times the bad debt that lenders look at. So like credit cards and look at other things that are outstanding, medical bills.
It was mostly credit cards for me.
Yeah. So those are very important pieces of debt that they don't want to see when you go to apply for a home loan.
Yeah. So what ended up happening, we paid off the credit cards, and we were just honestly like trying to save as much as possible, because while we were working on all of these things, we were putting money away for the down payment so that we didn't have to, if we got to the point of getting pre-approved, we didn't have a down payment. That was just not going to work for us because obviously you need a down payment. So
there are some programs that you can go through that have like a zero down payment.
But we literally wanted no more roadblocks because we have just felt like it was one thing after the next, and we just kept. Thankfully, we had people educating us along the way, but there was not one person in the beginning that was like, listen, you need to do this, and this. And if you guys remember, I had my tax situation last year where, number one, I didn't file my taxes. Well, my CPA didn't file my taxes from 2018, and it was a whole mess. So if there's anything you take away from this video is make sure that your taxes are done. And if you are trying to buy a house hear me out loud and clear. If you're trying to buy a house, make sure that you are showing as much possible income as possible. I know that as freelancers and as self-employed entrepreneurs, sometimes we like to deduct as much as possible so that we don't pay as much taxes. But like Taz said, it's all a numbers game. And if you are trying to buy a house, you need to show as much income as possible because then you will not get pre-approved.
Yes,
believe
absolutely.
me. Like, because we could afford a house. We could definitely afford a house. We're paying almost $1,800 in rent here, so we had the money. But on paper, since I was deducting a ton more. I mean, they're all true deductions, but there are sometimes you have to take a hit so that you can
show the income.
And so what ended up happening when we tried to get pre-approved the first time, the credit was great, but the debt to income ratio was still too high. And I think that's when we got rid of the second car and we're like, you know what? Enough's enough. Like, we have to do everything in our power to try to make this work. So we got rid of our car. We were down to one car payment, and then we were still working on Taz's credit, paying off as much debt as possible. And once we got my debt to a good, like my debt to income ratio, we started taking what we would have paid and saved it for the down payment.
You have to think of this as like a long-term play. If you are planning to buy a house, you need to think a year and a half, maybe 2 years down the line where you'll actually probably be able to do that if your ducks aren't in a row. Because essentially what happens if you are self-employed, they will take 2 years of tax returns and they will average out the income that you show in those 2 years. So right now we're in 2021, we were filing 2020's taxes. So last year we were actually working with 2018's taxes and 2019's taxes. You can see how like the decisions you make a couple years ago can affect what you're trying to do now. In 2018, as any really new business owner does, she claimed a loss on her taxes. So she claimed a loss on her income.
Because I did have a loss. I don't want you guys to misunderstand. Like, I wasn't making a ton of money, but there are some deductions that I took out that I probably could have been like, you know what, I'll take that loss so we can show more income, but I didn't. Because at that time, like Taz said, new business owner, we had no idea that we were going to buy a house or wanted to buy a house. And honestly, I didn't know that took into account.
Yeah.
So
and at the time, starting a new business, you don't want to pay a ton of taxes because you don't have the income.
Right.
So you try and deduct as much as possible, which is normal. That's fine. But if you have the idea and you have the thought that I want to buy a house, you need to think of it the opposite way. You need to think, I'm showing as much income as possible. So going back to what I was talking about, they take the last 2 years of tax returns into account. 2018, she claimed a loss. 2019, she claimed a profit. So if they average those out, there was like, I want to say $400 a month of usable income that she could technically use to put towards that loan. That's what the numbers that the lenders were seeing. So if you take $400 a month that she could use, that's not a lot. So they're like, you don't have enough income on paper to get qualified for this loan. So essentially what we had to do is we had to push it back to this year, because if we can get rid of 2018, the loss, it's like getting a 0 on a paper in school and it just crushes your average because that 0 is on there. If you can get a 50, if you can get whatever, even if it's still failing, if you can get anything but a 0, it's going to bring up that average. Right. So essentially we're trying to get the average of 2019 and 2020, which we're filing right now. We know in 2019 she claimed a profit. 2020 she claimed an even bigger profit, which is amazing. Praise the Lord.
Yes.
So at this point, we are now able to average these past 2 years, 2019 and 2020, show more income, and then the lenders will be like, okay, you're actually showing more income. Let's get you a loan.
One thing I want to say, because, a lot of us and this happened to me with my tax guy, and then this happened to me this time when we tried to get pre-approved, not this last time, but the time before that. They came back and they were like, we can't pre-approve you for what you're looking for, but we can pre-approve you for, X amount of money, which was like, I'm talking about like a low number. And I was like, what am I going to do with that? I'm not going to buy, so
a shack, like. I
was like, and they told us that it was because of our income. And I was like, wait a minute. Someone told me that just make sure that you double check whoever you're hiring or whoever you're working with. Make sure that you double check and have them explain everything they're doing to you, because like what happened to me with my CPA, number one, he did not file my taxes because I did not check in. And number two, if I wouldn't have asked this question to this CPA and I was like, wait, can you explain how you got this number? Because it doesn't make sense after everything that we've been educated to know. With that said, he went back and apparently he had made an error. He missed some income. And then why didn't we work out with him anymore? Like, what did he say? He just said we couldn't get anything more than what he
we
gave
were looking
us.
for until we filed taxes.
Right.
I had met somebody through my time as a photographer, a real estate photo and video, and they had always been like really nice. They had always been super informative, and I was like, oh, let's give her a call. And so we gave her a call. She educated us.
Literally a blessing.
Yep. And so, and of course, this year is the 1 year that the IRS pushes back your filing date. Typically, you can file like as soon as possible. This year, it's like right now.
Yeah,
you can
today.
file. It's February 15th. You can file starting, I believe, today.
Yeah.
Whereas usually you can file beginning of February, mid-January. As soon as you have all your stuff, you can file. But so we were just essentially waiting for this point so we can file the taxes, so we can then show 2020 and 2019, get 2018 out of the way, and use
These
this
past 2
income.
years. Another thing that, since he's reminding me about our CPA that's helping, not CPA, our lender that's helping us out, I also want to mention our realtor that's helping us out. She gave us a pivotal piece of information that without her we would not be here, because so like I mentioned, I had my whole tax situation happen and I owe a lot of money to the IRS.
Because of the mess up in 2018.
Correct. And I was talking to the CPA and he said that, the IRS is going to reach out to you to create a payment plan. And then that's what happened. That's why we didn't get it pre-approved, because the lenders need to see that as a payee, if you're in debt to the IRS, you have to have paid them 3 months in a row. So I was like, well, I can't pay. I haven't started my payment plan yet. So like, what am I supposed to do? I'm kind of like...
Because this was during COVID when the IRS was just shut down.
Yeah.
They weren't talking to anybody. They weren't accepting anything.
Yeah, so we got on the phone with our realtor and she was like, listen, you can pay the IRS starting now. Just go log into your account and just make the minimum
$100
payment,
or something,
$100 a month,
so you can establish
so that you can establish that payment, so that when the bank goes and looks at your file, they see, okay, well, she owes this much money, but she's already been paying it off. So
That's
if you owe anything to the IRS and they haven't reached out to you because they haven't reached out to anybody, be proactive and go online, create a profile, and pay at least whatever you can. I was just doing $100 a month and try to not miss a month, because they need to see the consecutive payment so that they know that you are, capable of being an adult and paying your debt.
There are many different types of loans, but the most common two are FHA and conventional. FHA is really good for first-time home buyers. You might not have a ton to put down. Your credit scores don't have to be as high for an FHA loan, so that's what we got approved for in FHA. I think we're right on the brink of being able to go with the conventional, but there are different pros and cons, and I don't know all the pros and cons for each of them, but I just know an FHA is kind of geared more towards a first-time home buyer that might not be as established as somebody 40, 50 years old who might have more income, better credit score, things like that. So FHA only requires 3.5% down, which is great, which is amazing for us. And I think at the end of this, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, but it's a lot of making sure you're prepared for what you're trying to do. So going back to her previous situation with her CPA back in 2018, we didn't have the thought of buying a house at the time, which is fine. Like, you don't have to have a thought to buy the house, and they can file the taxes in a manner that doesn't require you owe a whole lot, and that's fine. You can do that, but there's a big but. If you plan on making any big purchase, you need to make sure you show income, so you can't deduct as much as you might think. So this year, we tried to deduct as little as possible so we could show as much income. We're gonna pay a little bit more in taxes, but at the end of the day, it's going to help us reach the goal of buying the house.
Right.
So it's all about what you want. It's really all about what you want. If you have a thought of buying a house, talk to your CPA.
See what works for you. If you have a realtor, they should have a lot of valuable knowledge, or a lender. Talk to them, see what your options are. Just don't go into it like we did. We're like, let's go buy a house.
Yeah,
and we just got shut down after shut down. And we tried to do, you guys, and I'm sure we're missing so many different things here, but we tried so much, and it just kept getting like a door shut in our face. Like, nope.
Yeah.
And seeing everybody else's, experience much easier just felt like we were doing something wrong, and like we weren't adults enough, or we weren't responsible enough. So I just want to let you know, if you're going through anything, please know that you're not alone, and not everyone talks about the experience, because we don't know if those people that have easy experiences with buying a home, if this was their very first time buying the home, or if they had other things that happened and they had to work their way up to that home.
You just show the end goal. You just see the end of like, oh, we bought a home. Like, well, what'd you have to do to get the home?
Yeah, and one thing I am very adamant about is sharing like the whole story, because rarely do I have success on the first go of anything. So I want to just remind all of you out there that people, you know, have struggles and we work through things, but if you continue to have the perseverance, the faith, like it's gonna pull through. Like I'm not sure when I'm gonna put this in the video yet, but when our lender called us, I had no idea what she was gonna say. And so I didn't really plan to film. But then I kind of got the idea that she was going to tell us that we got pre-approved. And when she did, I started crying and I was like, where's your phone? And I just filmed on his phone, because I want to remember that like we have been praying and working so hard, and we just never saw like the light at the end of the tunnel. And once you do, it's like, I mean, I was elated. Like I was so happy. But what's really funny is that we were going to go look at houses today, Monday, because we got the word on Saturday that we got pre-approved, Friday.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we'll go see houses on Monday, and we're all literally snowed in. Like we cannot do anything. So it's really funny how like when something happens, we're like, okay, we have to work on your patience one more time.
1 more day, 2 more days.
So I'm really excited. With all that said, if you have any questions on anything that we talked about, leave them down below. I'm really, 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 really pumped to take you guys on this new adventure with us. We're gonna go look at homes. To give you a timeline,
yes,
we have to tell our apartment complex that we are no longer staying by the end of this month. We have on our calendar to tell them this week, so we have to tell them that because we need to be out of here by May 1st. Like we have to, like our last day here should be April 30th or 31st, whatever day it is. And so, you know, we're also getting married in June. So, and then Taz is going out of town probably. You want to talk about that like really fast?
I'm going on a missions trip to Uganda.
To Uganda in April.
Early to mid-April, so I think I'm leaving on the 7th, coming back the 17th or 19th. I can't remember. But anyway, that's basically right in the time where we want to be moving. So technically, we want to get this process started by March 1st, so we can close by April 1st, so we can have the entire month to kind of move.
So it's going to be a lot of hectic adventures, but I thrive off of that. So I'm really excited to take you guys along with us. If you have any specific wants that you guys want to see throughout this process, let me know so I can make sure to do that.
Obviously, we're going to show you when we go to look at houses, or we're going to show you house tours and kind of take you through the entire thing from the closing to closing day to getting the keys and all that stuff. In Jesus' name, that's going to happen. But we will take you through all that. But if you want to see anything outside of the ordinary, if you want us to talk about anything, let us know.
Yeah, but I'm just so excited. I'm so happy. It finally felt like, I don't know, we were like headed in the right direction, and
it's like this weight had been lifted.
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't be looking at houses. You shouldn't. Another thing, don't look at houses until you're pre-approved. We started looking at houses before we were pre-approved, and we got our hopes set. We got our hearts set on certain houses, and then come to find out that we can't even get pre-approved.
Yeah.
So get pre-approved first, then start looking at houses.
Yeah.
You can get an idea for areas and stuff, but definitely get pre-approved first.
Yeah. So with all that said, thank you so much. Thank you for just being with us for the journey. If you've been here since New York, you'll know we started in a little basement. And we have this beautiful apartment, and hopefully now we'll have our first home together. So I'm really, really excited to take you guys with us. We love you so much. Thank you for the support. And again, if you have any questions, leave them down below. But that is all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.